Hey everybody, good evening. It's almost 10 p.m. here on this Saturday. I've been getting back into analyzing crypto charts, and I saw something today that I felt like I had to bring up. And so I want to talk a little bit today about OP USDT. I'm going to be looking at it on the chart that's on the Binance exchange. Before I get into all of this, as you all know, it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and this is always just my opinion on the market. I'm going to go ahead and move on into the chart, and I want to focus on what should be blatantly obvious here. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to go ahead and get my horizontal ray, put my redo tool on here. We've got a low right there, and then we've got a high right here. Okay, and we've got a low right here, which is higher than this low, and then we've got another high right here, which is lower than this one. That's interesting. Okay, we've got a low here, a low here, a low here, and then we've got, a high right here. Okay, each one of these is higher than the previous low or lower than the previous high. That's pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and put a trend line on here. I'm going to tag the bottom of this. I'm just going to draw it forward. All right. So we're basically looking at this as, and I'm on log scale. I could put this on, arithmetic scale, and it looks a little bit different, right? But what I'm focusing on is the log scale, but mostly because of this move that we had back here in late July and I guess kind of going into August of this year. Big move up, right? So we've got a trend line there on the bottom, and then we've got a trend line here on the top. All right, so it should be kind of obvious where I'm going with this. We do talk about trend lines all the time, and the more often they get tested, the higher the likelihood that one is going to break. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to remove these guys because I want to focus on the wedge. But there's a couple other things that I do want to pay attention to. I'm going to keep the high and the low on there. I'm going to get my fib retracement tool. I've got my dominant pivot high, and then I've got my dominant pivot low. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull that over. And where did we get a rejection from? I suppose you're probably not surprised that we got rejected at the 618. All right, so we got a rejection from our golden zone. And this is really, what we would kind of expect to see. After we have a really, really big move up, we have a slow bleed, and then we have an internal retracement. That's what we call these. We call these internal retracements because you create a range, the dominant pivot high and the dominant pivot low. The pullback is where the price is retracing internal to that move down. So we had a rejection here at the 618, and we have yet to go back and retest it. So what happened after we had the rejection off of that 618? Well, first off, I want to actually analyze the volume a little bit. That's not something that I usually do, but I'm going to do that. I do look at volume when I trade options, but I'm looking at this that, on this candle right here as a 22% move, it was significant. It was on probably, twice the average volume. Right? So you can see my orange line here. This is my average volume, and we had about double that. But did we have any follow through? No. We hit the 618 and we rejected, right? And there was just no follow through. We had an indecisive candle right here, but then we were followed with a significant amount of negative volume. And it happened to be on November 8th. It is what it is, right? November 8th, November 9th, we had a good rebound, but look at this rebound, okay? So we had significant volume on this first candle down, right? That would be what you should consider your distribution. And then we had another candle here on lower volume. This would be your capitulation. We had a rebound, but look at the volume. It was very, very low. The volume here was less than the volume we had on this candle right here. So that's also very interesting to me. Now, let's fast forward, okay? We have had, higher than average volume, but the volume that we have had is not very bullish. The highest volume we had was on this candle right here, which happened to be right as it was testing this upper trend line. And what ended up happening, it was followed with significant drawdown and significant drawdown again. and then we retested this trend line one more time. Where is our target? If we are going to, if we're going to continue moving down on this, and this is an altcoin, and I've said this for years, that altcoins are nothing more than a scam. That's all they are. The FTX token, that obviously was a scam, right? So many other things are a scam. Like, what do they actually do for us? Right now, nothing. Right now, they're just for these, I'm using air quotes, companies creating something that really doesn't do anything for us. So now here we are. We're retesting this lower again. But look at the daily wave. The daily wave on this is, it's heading down pretty hard. You have to agree. There's nothing here that shows any signs that we're curling. So the candle yesterday, right? So the candle yesterday was kind of a bullish doji, right? As I'm expecting the markets in general to see a little bit of a move up, watch what happens right here at this 382. Because this 382 is an area that had previously been significant support and resistance. But recently, it was support for days and days and days. And then it broke down. More often than not, right, and I could be wrong here, more often than not, the retrace is going to get rejected, okay? A really great example is, just so happens, right here. So we had this area here as support. We came down, we broke through it, we retested it, and we rejected it, and we went lower. But we also have this trend line right here that we have to pay attention to, because the more times this is tested, right, and it has been tested many, many times. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 days in a row, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times. Now, it's only going to test so many times before it falls. The price has attempted to push through this compressionary wedge for at least 2 months now. We tried to push through here on November 5th. That failed. We tried to push through here on December 14th, just a few days ago, and that failed. So here we are now, looking at this price action, trying to make ends meet on what it is that the market is doing. And again, I just want to illustrate and focus that the highest volume was right here on this candle, and the price didn't move. So the price moved up into this, but it was rejected almost instantaneously. And this was on December 14th. So let's go down to a 4-hour time frame and just take a look at the volume and see what actually happened here. So on December 14th, so that would be starting roughly right here. Right here, we're trying to push up and through. Tried to push up and through. Look at the volume, just a little bit of volume. But then look right here. A crazy amount of volume on this candle right here. And it is what started the move down. And the move down did occur on low volume. We had a little bit of a retrace on extremely low volume. So this also tells me buyers are not interested. What this is telling me is we're at the average volume. This is telling me that sellers are interested. But on the green candles, on extremely low volume, buyers are not interested. If we had this much volume right here that we had on this candle, you would totally expect this to fly up and through this trend line that's been heading downward. But that didn't happen because the volume was so low. And then what ended up happening? Well, sellers got interested again. And again, on above average volume, we saw a move down into that support area that we had been talking about. We tested support, and then we fell through. Okay? And so now all of this price action down here is on very, very low volume. And again, I mentioned that before. What did low volume mean right here? It means currently buyers are not interested. So what do I expect to happen? Well, obviously, you need to wait, right? Don't do anything just because things look right. I would say that to wait for this to do its own retest, right? Do a retest and then watch for a break, because when this breaks, do a little retest here. Maybe it won't do a retest, but the target is going to be much lower. I'm not going to discuss where the target might be, although if you know me well enough, you probably know where it's at. But it really doesn't look great. Okay, it really doesn't look great. I'm not going to put an Elliott wave count on this right now. I don't think it's necessary. But again, looking at this from a dominant pivot high and a dominant pivot low, you got that 618. So it could take a month. It could take 6 months for it to reach its target. But I don't see significant upside on this guy at this time. Now, the apex of this wedge is getting closer and closer to completing, right? So even if we are above or below this wedge, right? So even if we're above or below it, more often than not, when that wedge creates its apex and it reaches the completion, which in this case would be on January 8th, 2023, there will be a big move. You can almost guarantee it because it happens all the time. Either inside of the wedge or outside of the wedge, it doesn't matter. That apex, for some reason, always seems to cause a violent move in that particular asset. Again, short term, as I've been saying with almost everything, chances are pretty good we're going to come up here and retest the 382, which is at about $1.02, almost $1.03, somewhere in that area. But then watch for a break of this lower. Once we break this lower, that again is going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th time so far. So that would be the 8th time we've tried to break through it. And we're going to break through one of the two. Whichever way we do break through is going to be a volatile move, and it's going to continue moving significantly, whichever direction it goes, only because this, the mouth, if you will, of this wedge is quite large. So if you can see a move to the upside, I mean, you would just measure this right here and this right here, and you would take wherever it is that we fall out of here, or fly out of here rather. And, that would put a target up here at about $5.98, $6. I mean, it's only at $1 right now. Going up to $6 sounds ludicrous. However, moving to the downside, there is significant potential that this could see a significant move to the downside. I'm not talking about a move to new lows or anything like that, but you have to be prepared for that. And right now we're sort of sitting on the edge of this lower trend line. And I'm only saying to be careful. If we break down below it, I'm probably going to go short on this one, only because of what I see right here. Now, certainly this could take a little bit of time, right? As I mentioned, it could be that we do go back up here and we go back down here and we just bounce around here into the beginning of January. I don't expect that's going to happen. We're probably going to see a move sometime here in the near future. So within the next week or two, we're probably going to see this break in one way. And when that happens, be ready. And just in case you're curious, you can set alerts in TradingView on trend lines. You just simply right click on the trend line. You can add alert on the trend line. So there we go. You can say, all right, well, when it crosses, right? You can say only once per bar. I tend to do once per bar close because I want the candle to close on the other side of it. I don't want to just know when it touches it. I want it to close on the other side of it. So I can set this as an open-ended alert. Say, all right, well, hey, you need to take a look at this because something has broken. I'm going to create that alert. I'm going to do one on this trend line as well because I'm okay going long. There's no problem going long if the conditions are right. So I'm going to set that alert on it as well. So again, it's as simple as just right-clicking on the trend line itself and setting alert on the trend line. And there you go. You don't have to set a price alert, right? You can do a price alert. But when you have a decreasing trend line, the price changes all the time, where it is according to the plot. So by setting the alert on the trend line, you're giving yourself that variable. As the trend lines get closer and closer together, so does the price. The price moves. So I'm going to set an alert on both of those, and we'll go back and take a look at that on another day, more than likely when it breaks. I wanted to document this because the look and feel of this chart is really quite beautiful. It is a really great wedge. It's constructed pretty well. It's constructed in waves of 3, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3 waves here, 1, 2, 3 waves here, and so looking at this, it looks really great. And mix that with the fact that we had a rejection of the 618, which again are some of the best trades that I like to take, that I like to analyze. This seems like a perfect trade for me to keep an eye on, because there's going to be something happening and it's going to be a wild move when it does hit. So I'm going to go ahead and end things right there. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our Discord, you can find that information on BitDoctor.org. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.